Hello, good afternoon. How are you?
Very good, very good.
Hope everyone is safe on your side.
Everybody is safe. I don't get your name. It says T-Hub Foundation. What is?
Yeah. I'm Prithvi Chetan.
Okay, Prithvi.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, great, Prithvi. Good knowing you.
Nice to meet you.
So, what is the flow? What is the structure?
So predominantly, we'll be having first 40 minutes session and followed by Q&A, question and answer. So our participants can post the questions in chat window. So after the
And
session,
what is the nature of participants?
so predominantly all of them are startups across our ecosystem, from idea stage to POC to MVP to startups who launch a product with certain revenue also. It's a mix of all sectors, all stages, all regions. Yeah.
Okay, that's very good.
Hello
And
everyone.
they're not only just tech, but they're any kind of startup, right?
Yes, I think predominantly product tech startups, and majority of them use deep tech, and also we have very limited startups which are FMCG or which are not using tech. Predominantly, majority of them, more than 95%, would be tech startups. Hello everyone. Thanks a lot for joining. A quick introduction about our speaker today, Mr. Gaurav Marya, who is an entrepreneur, author, visionary, and also chairman and founder of Franchisee India Group. Gaurav Marya is India's leading franchising business growth expert and a highly successful serial entrepreneur. He is widely known for bringing about the franchising and small business revolution in India, and he is a visionary force behind Franchise India, the largest integrated small business, franchise and retail solution company. Franchise India provides end-to-end business solutions through its various business divisions. This includes media, events, consulting, and brokerage. There's a lot more about it. We'd be happy to know more in the session. Over to you, Mr. Gaurav.
Thank you, Prithvi. Thank you for inviting me to speak on my subject, which is franchising, and also it's great to really interact with a lot of startups community. And I've been personally to T-Hub a couple of times when it actually was launched, and I know the kind of effort and work has been done. I think is commendable. And a lot of other states should really learn it from what they've done and how they've really helped startups to grow. So as I see now, about 16 odd people have joined in, more people joining in. So I feel that we should make it very interactive. As many questions you have, rather than just being a monotonous speech from my side. I think if we keep the question answer open and we can have regular questions, it will make it more interesting for everyone to do that. So I'll give you a little background about, yeah. So you were saying something, Prithvi?
It's just that I request all the participants to please post the questions on the chat window so that we can make it more interactive. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. So, so I'll start with my journey, and why it is so important. Whenever I talk to any startups, I give them a little bit of my journey. So it's not, I'm actually a old school startup, right? So started my business way back in 95 with the telecom. Telecom was just opening up. And that is the time I started and build a large telecom business with the GSM technology. And then I was investing into many ideas, and anything which came to my mind. And, conventionally how people invest in those days was looking at what your friends are doing or a family is doing, or sometimes you just look at something which looks interesting to you and you go out and invest. And that's where I started realizing that there was no standard platform for people to really find the right startup. And so Franchise India was born with that idea. It was India's first, so to say, startup platform. where anybody who wanted to start a business in way back in 99 can come to Franchise India, choose the right kind of opportunities, and then really find out what business they can really invest into. And over these 24 odd years, Franchise India, through their integrated platform, from magazines, exhibitions, conferences, forums, and so on and so forth, and a big advisory firm which runs in now 95 cities in India and 6 overseas cities. We have sold more businesses and startups than anybody else in the world. We also run the largest ecosystem now on startups with the company called Entrepreneur. Entrepreneur is a US-based magazine and a big startup ecosystem, global ecosystem. And so we run Entrepreneur in India and Asia. So this is a little bit of my background. And so every time anybody who would invite me to speak to startups or any opportunity, I will love to come there, because any help I can provide in terms of insights or guidance or connecting people, because sometimes startups need a lot of connections. I'll be more than happy to do that. So today's discussion, which I'm invited on, is my subject, which is franchising. And so what I'm going to cover in this is giving you a little overview about franchising, if you know about that subject or industry. And sometimes you partially know about it. So I'll give you a little overview about franchising. I'll also give you a little overview about why people franchise and why startups should look at franchising as a strategy for scale. Also, then we'll talk about how to build value, because why it is so important to do that. And then we'll get on to, if you really want to franchise your concept or want to franchise your business, what are the ways you should really go about, and how do you prepare yourself, how you prepare your business, and so on and so forth. And what are the critical things which are required in franchise setup. So let's get started. Franchising is not new. Franchising was started way back in 50s by a company called Singer Machine. Singer had a very simple sewing machine business, and they wanted distribution. And it's very complex, especially in markets like US, which is a very large country. If you have a great product and you want distribution, it takes a lot of effort. Actually, a lot of startups actually fail because they don't get distribution. Singer was same. Singer had a great product, but not having the distribution. So they created a very unique franchise model. And this model was getting women entrepreneurs who would take the machine, go out and do a demo to somebody and say, you can run a business on this, which means that you can set up a sewing business at your home. It's for home-based business. And in that form, they would sell the machine also. And that clicked and franchised. And then a lot of other product companies who had that innovative business model also started using that. And then it evolved to what we call the conventional distribution. And you have dealers who would resell your product and so on and so forth. India also started seeing that piece on almost everything which we consume. It was classic distribution model where you would have dealers or resellers who would use and sell your business and so on and so forth. And that continued for till about late 60s, when there was a new evolution of this model really started happening. And this evolution was what we call the business format franchising. So one is that I give you the product, you go out and sell as a franchisee, but there is no standardization of that business model. There is no standardization of the business model. Every dealer is doing their own way. And the business format franchising was where the whole experience also becomes standardized. The entire experience itself becomes standardized. And this was introduced by a company called KFC, which we all know. KFC was the first company really which started duplicating their centers. So not only the product was standard, but the way the experience was done was also standard. So when you go to KFC, it was a KFC experience. And then really the big company came in, which is McDonald's. And McDonald's really changed the way franchising was looked. And thereafter, almost every business wanted to really scale through franchising. Everybody wanted to control their customer. Everybody wanted to control their consumer experience. And franchising is becoming very, very large. Now, this brings a very important question to make it interactive. So if you can all use the Q&A box and give me the name of the biggest company you know in franchising, any name which comes to your mind. And Prithvi, you can also take an attempt.
Gaurav, I'd like to request you to also please throw some light in terms of how can startups also franchising is along with franchising, we can also look at reseller as a model or channel partners as another model. So which again business X and other verticals of yours also dealer
Sure.
network.
Yeah. I'll touch upon that, how you can build your business and how you need to do that. Two companies which somebody has written, Lenskart and First Try, both are Indians, and Domino's somebody has written. Bata is somebody written. KFC somebody has written. So all these are clients of Franchise India. They all are great companies, but they are not largest. They are rather very small companies. Somebody has written Starbucks. Starbucks is also not largest. Starbucks runs about 30,000. There's a noise coming from your side. So they run about 30,000 odd outlets, but they're not the largest brand in the world for when it comes to franchising. Why I'm doing this question? Because this would open up your mind. Because sometimes people think that only very brick and mortar businesses can only franchise. Somebody said Nike, somebody saying McDonald's, Burger King, and things of that nature. The biggest brand in the world, and I've asked this question many times in my seminars and webinars, nobody gives me the answer. The biggest brand in the world for franchising is Coca-Cola. So Coca-Cola, all their bottling plants and distribution is franchised. So businesses like these, which also conventionally don't look like a franchise, they are also franchised. So today, as we speak, anything which you're consuming is coming from a franchise. It might be product, it might be services. So anything which is going direct to home is a franchise business. If you look at healthcare, from Apollo, Dr. Lal, Metropolis, Thyrocare, everybody is franchised, right? Even these direct to home pharmacy businesses, which are now become big tech play, PharmEasy or any other company, they're all franchise business. If you look at logistics, the last mile logistics, last mile delivery, all the companies from Shadowfax to delivery, all there are franchise businesses. Even on a micro franchising viewpoint, Uber, Ola are franchise businesses. Unilever, somebody said, Unilever is a big example of a franchise business. So the Unilever runs a lot of service concepts which are franchise. So from sending your kids to schools, which is a franchise business model, where you go to a DPS or a Eurokid or a Kidsy, or small early stage businesses, to using any kind of other consumption which you come from a wallet share. Even fintech companies, all the fintech companies now, from their business models, they also are a franchise business. So franchising really impacts our life. From your entire thing, from tomorrow onwards, you start thinking on, from your breakfast table to down the line, anything which you're touching on is actually coming from a franchise. Even the Zomato kitchens, which you were ordering food from, were also franchised businesses. So it's a really very, very serious and large industry. Globally, it is now $4.5 trillion. $4.5 trillion. If I have to see this as a country, this would be the 6th biggest economy in the world. So it's not a small business. It's a very large business. Indian GDP is 2.7 trillion. So it's 4.5 trillion industry. So which means that it impacts everything. It impacts everything in the business model. So franchising really started obviously in US, and everything became very, very big, from hotels, from Marriott's to the food outlets, to fashion stores, to anything which you consumed came from a franchise. In India, the first few companies which were able to adopt franchising were really companies like Bata, Action Shoes, Liberties, and likes of them. And there used to be two IT companies which really created foundation for IT education in India, AppTech and NIIT. These were companies which were early stage franchise businesses and became extremely, extremely good. So why franchising is such a big scale strategy? That's very important for everybody to understand, because a lot of people say, why franchise? That's very, very important question. So there are two stakeholders in franchise. One is a stakeholder, which are brands, and they have to franchise, and what stage they should franchise. That's what we're going to discuss. So why companies want to franchise? 3 reasons. One is capital. And this is one of the reasons I encourage startups to use franchising as a way to do that. It is the best form of capital you can get when you're a startup, because there are other two forms which you can get. One is debt, which startups don't get. How would somebody give you a debt? Second is equity, which means that you get funded by somebody. That also, if you do it too early, you don't get right valuation. You don't get valuation, you end up giving a large equity away. So what is the third way to scale your brand or scale your business, which is franchising? So franchising is one of the best forms of capital you can get. And that's why a lot of startups, like somebody wrote to me, a company called Lenskart. The first store of Lenskart was done by Franchise India. The first cry started with Franchise India. So almost all companies, when they are early stage businesses and they want to grow, they work what I call the OPM principle, other people money. You have a successful business model, you have a good structure, and you invite somebody to invest with your business and you share profits. That becomes a franchise model. So a lot of startups actually use for capital. So that's one reason why companies franchise. The second reason where large companies franchise, why would a Reliance have to franchise? Or why would Tata's franchise? Today, Franchise India manages Reliance Jio. We manage Tata Chroma. We manage Mahindra's business of service. So why these companies would franchise? They have all the capital, but they franchise because they need somebody to be involved in the business. They need operational efficiencies. Operational efficiencies are very important. When the company, like for example, Hyundai used to run 14 dealerships in Delhi. And out of the 14, they had one company-owned dealership. And if you see the numbers, the 13, which were dealer-run franchisee-run dealerships, they were performing better than this owned one because there was no entrepreneur ability in that business. So when large companies franchise, they franchise because they want that ownership to be coming in the business. And third, which is very important for all startups to understand, is a scale. If you are doing yourself, you will not be able to scale. Like, for example, Lenskart, somebody said, Lenskart is looking to do 3,000 stores. If they go and open up their own stores, even if they raised capital, it takes a lot of time to do that. But if they start franchising, they can go and grow much faster than they are. So people franchise only for three reasons. One is capital. Second is better operational efficiencies. And third is the scale of growth. So this is where franchising becomes extremely, extremely attractive. Now, another question a lot of times come to me is that doing that would have chance of diluting the brand, or when I present to a private equity or a VC, how would they look at a franchise business and so on and so forth. For example, I mean, today, if you really look at Jubilant Foods itself is a franchisee of Domino's, and one of the most valuable companies when it comes to food in India. And similarly, almost all companies, and recently another company called Spire got listed, and all these companies are actually a franchise. So in today's time, almost every fund, every good fund actually encourages franchising. Why they encourage? Because it becomes capital light. You have a strong bottom line. You're able to scale faster. You're able to take your business or services to very, very fast to a last mile consumer. So this business becomes even more valuable. So a lot of startups who have this confusion in mind that, look, if I franchise, I might not be able to really build value. Rather, the value becomes even more interesting because now you are asset light and you're able to scale much faster. So franchising probably is the best scale strategy if you have a business model which can be duplicated in a different model. So that question is everybody has to ask, and I would be more than happy to really take some questions on this. If you want to discuss on your business model, any business model you have, and you want to really understand, can it be franchised or any other example which would be there? Because Franchise India has worked with 11,000 brands. So we will have a lot of examples, like look at the EV space today. EV space, there are 300 OEMs which has come in the market. Almost all of them are using franchising as a way to expand. Charging infrastructure. Again, a huge opportunity. Almost every corner of this country would need to have a charging infrastructure. They are doing it. So there are a lot of ways companies are creating these new formats of franchising and quite quickly scaling that business. So now let's understand what it takes to franchise, because that's very, very important question. And that's something which is extremely important, because as we've seen success stories, I should let somebody's asking a question. Let me see. Yeah, IT recruitment and staffing industry. Yeah, it's a huge opportunity. Staffing, skilling is a huge opportunity in India, and always would be very, very big opportunity. And that can be easily franchised. And especially if you want to really do the integration of smaller cities, because a lot of talent comes from there, and you recruit, train, skill them, and then bring them. So that becomes a very interesting. And if it is technologically integrated, then it becomes even more interesting opportunity. So you can also keep asking questions. A lot of people asking. Let me keep taking some questions also. How to differentiate between a retailing and franchising when it comes to selling, say, hardware product. It's actually, franchising is just, retailing is the format which you do. You can retail, you can direct to consumer, you can internet, and franchise is a partner who actually do it for you in a particular geographical location. So if you tell me the product which you are talking about, particularly in hardware, then I can even go deeper and answer your questions. Are the bioagregate manufacturing unit in Hyderabad, so it is suitable franchising? Absolutely, absolutely. Great category. The entire category itself is in, and you can create these micro manufacturing across a very strong category, can be franchised. And why? Because you can create the franchisees per zone, and each zone can then go out and deploy in unorganized hospital infrastructure, hospital management capabilities. And then you can even put a lot of VAS to it, value-added services, which can really be put in the market. Wellness like Pilates and physiotherapy can be a model. We are doing a lot of work in that. Rather, the biggest names in Pilates today are clients of ours. And physiotherapy, we have just done a very interesting direct-to-home physio concept. We have recently done that. It means that it's through an app. You can book a physio, and they would come, and especially for people who are aged and women. So it's a very, very interesting space. Direct-to-home wellness space is a next big thing. So if you see the cycle of the whole structure, first 10 years of since 2000, it was actually getting environments, which means the retail environments got organized. And now is the time for services. Anything you consume as a service would become branded, which means from physios to a gardener coming to your home to any other thing would all become a structure. So it's a huge opportunity, which we call the personal service category. Very, very big things, from laundry to cleaning to gardening to any kind of service which is there would become, rather franchising wise, this is the fastest growing category in developed world. So it's a huge opportunity. Is my voice right? Somebody saying is breaking. So if anybody can confirm.
No, it is fine.
Okay, that's fine. So then somebody is saying startup in the space of building green intelligent charging solutions for laptops. Again, very good. So we just launched a company called Bounce, which was charging infrastructure, but this is even more interesting. So if you have a green charging structures, it can be very highly franchised model, especially in certain markets. It can be very, very interesting. Kiran, we run the largest ecosystem of franchise, so I'm very happy to really understand how we can help you. We have about over 10 million potential franchisees in our ecosystem, so which have investment to put in there. So if there is an interesting startup business model which is well developed, well structured, there's no shortage of fund. There's so much of capital available, and which is both at the equity level and at the franchise level, that a lot of that is available today. Probably the best time you can ask for a capital.
And also,
yeah, go ahead.
Can you please suggest, as I mentioned, most of our startups are in early stage. So what would be the right time or right stage for them to think about exploring franchise as a market? Is it when they have their MVP ready and have paid or unpaid pilots going on, or is it when they have at least a couple of lakhs of monthly recurring revenue, or is it beyond?
Sure. So this is a very good question. So, at what stage you should really think about getting into franchise? That's very important part. And there is no one definite answer, right? Especially in current times, everybody is looking at future. Everybody is looking at something which is going to be next, and the innovation has become much shorter cycles. So everything changes in few months. So you have to be very dynamic as a business model. But if you have a business which you can duplicate and take it to another location, and that can create sustainable opportunity for somebody to invest, or both on a short term or a long term basis. Sometimes short term it's big gestation, but on a long term it has a merit, like recycling. We all know that's the future. We know green energy, future electric vehicles, future, but big gestation. So there are investors which are different investor mindsets. So some investors are very long term viewpoint, and some are short term income based kind of investors. So depending on where you are and what kind of business model you have, if you are already proven, then obviously it makes it much easier. But even if you are an early stage, I tell you, today in India, we have more appetite for people to back great ideas than just proven ROI business models. So a lot of them, actually, one of the companies I advised, I created a structure where I gave a very small equity to the group of franchisees who were the first few franchisees to come in at the top, so that they also get the share of the value creation which happens, because they were putting money at the franchise end. So they become like early co-founders, and they really work with you to scale that business model and take it to the next level. So, but if you have still at the ideation stage and you've not really done that, then I would say you need to come down to a point where you need to have some kind of a structure already ready, and prototype has been done, or business model has come in the market, or it's almost there to go to market. And then go to market franchising can be a very, very strong stage. Somebody said solar. Solar is a huge space. We are rather advising one of the largest players in solar, which have put on a giga plant for solar. But from a micro franchising to even the larger part of a solar business, it's a huge, huge space, and continue to be. And it's going to be very exciting with the two large corporations, both Reliance and Adani, investing billions into this space. Solar is going to be a very, very interesting space. So let's understand now what it takes to franchise, because it's not really just getting in and asking for money. You have to prepare yourself when you get into franchise. And so over the years, we have really created a product which called Franchise Development Program. Now, this is a program which is extremely important when you're thinking about getting into franchise and sharing your business model with somebody else. You need to prepare yourself. So how do you really prepare yourself? So over my 24 years of experience, and actually working in India with almost every franchise, we hold 90% market share. I have realized that there is a certain theory which you need to follow. If you really want to raising capital, if you're raising capital, these three things are very important. And this is not just franchise. Franchising is one way of raising capital. Even you go to funds or go to angels, go to anybody, then also you have to raise money. You need to have these three things which are available with you, what I call the 3M theory. The 3M, which to my understanding means, first M means, how do you make the business model measurable? This is a big problem when a lot of startups come in. They have a big idea, they want to solve a big problem, but they are not measured the business. They're not measured, So if you are able to put the business model and measure every part of it, then only you can duplicate that. Then only you can reproduce that. That's very, very important. Even if it is a small molecule structure, if I know this molecule can be sustainable and it can be measurable, then I can duplicate that faster or multiply that faster. So we work with companies to really make them measurable, create a science about their business model. That's very, very important. Second M stands for marketability. How you make yourself as a founder and also your company marketable. Then investors like you, they want to invest with you. And this is one of the areas which I think some founders are great and some are not. They are too much into their product or service. But my understanding says in over the years, when Flipkart started, it was just a copy of a Amazon model, selling books. But today, look at the business, how it has evolved over the time. So everybody has evolved over the time. The larger purpose would maybe remain same, which was e-commerce, but businesses keep evolving. So it's founder story. It's a founder story, how a founder has to really create his aura, his structure, his understanding. His people follow founders now. Everybody is doing that. Look at Elon Musk has more following than 3 times actually than Tesla. So Tesla is his company, but he has 3 times more following. So you really have to create the marketability. And this is also one of the areas which we advise. How do you really create yourself marketable and your company also? Then you only attract capital. And franchising is ongoing attracting capital. So because you're making franchise every single month and you're continuously attracting capital, people putting with you. And third is also equally important now, especially for large funds, that how you create your business model, which is manageable. This third M is manageable, which means that sometimes it goes out of control. You scale and you're not able to control that. This we have seen in a lot of early stage companies which came into franchise. They franchise and they were not able to control franchisee. The operation got lost. Their quality was not in control and they lost the entire plot. So how do you really do these 3 things? Make yourself measurable, make yourself marketable, and make yourself manageable as a business model. If you're able to do this, then you need to put the combined strategy in place, the broader strategy. And what is that strategy? Strategy is also really to define what I call the total addressable market. This is one thing which everybody wants to hear from you. What is your total addressable market? What are you trying to address? That's very, very important. And which I call a little bit of opportunity assessment. How big is the opportunity and where it is coming from? And India, most of the time, it's a shift market, which means that people are using something somewhere and we are shifting them to our product or our service. Why would that shift happen? That is difficult to define. While from a growth viewpoint, almost everything is in high demand. You don't have to go to anybody or take a mentor to tell you that your product or service has a demand. Everything you consume in this country, which is such a large consumption market, has a demand. The problem is, how would you shift that demand from wherever they are consuming to you? So that's very, very important. And that's something which you need to really put a lot of focus, that why people would start using you versus anything else available in that thing. And in current times, the same kind of innovation is done at different levels. Why you or anybody else as your competition? That's extremely very, very important to address that. Once you have addressed that part, then you need to go down and clearly define your value proposition very, very clearly, and that should be communicating. And third is really define your organizational capability. What kind of organizational capability? You might be startup, but at certain stage, what would you need to deliver that value proposition to capture that opportunity? That's something which is very important. And this is the biggest storytelling you can do to any investor you sit across and say, this is the organizational capability I would need to deliver this value proposition to capture this opportunity. That becomes a very, very important. And that would then phase out your rollout, how you want to do that. Maybe you want to do alpha, beta in your market where you are building up this, and build a little bit of alpha, beta, test that thing there, and then you can really scale. So this is very important. If you really think that you want to get into franchising, a lot of things you have to do. But before you even jump on making yourself franchise ready, you need to do this 3M and also build a broader strategy of your business. So a lot of questions are there. So let me pick up a few more questions. What operational tools? I'll come down to operational tools. We are around 300 clients in Hyderabad using our hospital lab management system. That's a good category, very, very good category, a huge opportunity. And if it goes to inclusive healthcare, which means the rural healthcare and things, that this is phenomenal opportunity. I like to understand a little more on that opportunity because that's something which is very interesting. And the biggest pain point is really about this. How do you really manage hospitals? Banking and lending services, absolutely. For gated communities, okay, that I need to go and understand a little more. If you can elaborate a little more on that. So it's very last mile financial service product, but should be very interesting to understand how really it works and What is expression approximate gestation period for vaccinating replace single-use plastics to meet United States in India? So if I understand, Premnath, your question, you are asking about what is the gestation time available for, you have to elaborate a little question, then I can answer. Blitz scaling. So blitz scaling, okay. Somebody says, I have concept creating for mocktail restaurant. I don't have a physical restaurant. I want to franchise my, actually I built a first mocktail bar in India called Rasna Buzz. It actually operates in Hyderabad. And that was the first mocktail bar which we created. And direct to consumer kind of a business model. A lot of people are using now a lot of drinks, a lot of food products which are directly shipped to as subscription to homes and offices and things like that. So that can be very interesting. If you use technology with that, I think that space is going to be extremely, extremely interesting.
And can you also see are there any limitations in terms of business models to explore franchising as an option, whether it is B2B or B2C or B2B2B or B2B2C or B2C or any other models that I've missed out?
So these are good questions. A lot of people ask me that would franchising work into B2B, B2C, B2B2C, or any kind of other B2G, which means business to government and things like that. So if you have a business model which has enough margins, which you can share with somebody else, any business model can be franchised. Because what is franchising? Franchising is that you worked hard to create an IP or intellectual property, brand, service, know-how, systems, processes, and so on and so forth. And you are giving and sharing this with the new entrepreneur who puts money and partner with you and shares the profit. Now that is business model. This is what franchising is. Franchising in a literal meaning means rights of privilege granted. So you have the privilege, which means that you have IP, you have brand, you have know-how. You worked a lot of effort and time to really invent that. And you're now sharing with somebody else. And against that, either you're getting royalty or you're getting a margin on the services or product. So this really helps you to scale faster your business model, and you share a business model with somebody. So that's franchising. And this is worked for every industry. It can be B2B, B2C, any kind of form of structure. And that's something which I think, and also because you're also bringing some kind of a competence of this franchisee also to jump in, it becomes even more interesting because they bring in their own local knowledge, local capability. And that's why internationally, especially, every company would use franchising as a way to expand. Even these companies like Coca-Cola or Pepsi, which are multi-billion-dollar businesses, they would also use that. Even IT companies would use resellers cross-board because they understand that the local value and local market knowledge is brought by the local franchisee in different markets. So let's go into now the next step. So which means that once you have really built the 3M and you have built your strategy, what else you would require? So you require a good detailed financial model, and financial model would evolve. You have to understand what is the franchisee buying into. Obviously, they're buying into your brand. And when you're a startup, your brand is not established. So they are buying into something else. They're buying into the growth or the opportunity which can come in over 5 years. So when you're developing a financial model, that's something which you need to really show some predictability. The predictability of how this business is going to look like for next 4, 5, 6 years, and how your margins are going to improve or stay intact. Because everything which starts might have a good margin. As competition starts coming in, margin starts reducing it. So when you're designing a financial model, that's something which is very, very important. And especially when I tell all the startups, I tell startups that, look, because you don't have a brand, you need to really show something unique about your business, and also show a very strong, clear predictability of your business model, which would run over the next 4 or 5 years. And once you have done that financial model and you have done your sensitivity analysis, so this doesn't happen, or this happened, or COVID happened, or this happened, still your business would have ability to sustain. Then you also need to really link or go-to-market capabilities. And you need to bring in what I call the microeconomics. What is the cost of acquiring a customer? What is the cost of servicing a customer? What is the absolute margin which needs to be done? What is the cycle of acquisition? At a certain stage when you acquired and become subscribers, how they would do repeat purchase with you. All that becomes, so if you have a business model, which is a very clearly subscription centric model where you have, and I think even becomes more interesting, because early years, it might have a lot of cost to acquire the customer, but over the time, it will start doing it. Like we're doing a lot of ed tech companies. Vedantu we're doing, Upgrad we're doing, many companies we're doing. So these companies have the same model. They have a high gestation early days, but once you have a subscriber, they would go to the next class and the next class and continue to take more and more content and pay more for a higher content coming in. So really speaking, the margins would continue to improve over the time. So if you have that kind of model, so you need to really work on the financial engineering of your business model. And if you need assistance, we can help you with that. The second thing is you need to really do is develop systems. Because if you don't build systems and processes and your training manuals, your operating manuals, your everything which is done in the business has to be recorded and created a model on that. And that's something which is actually creates a big differentiation between great performing franchise brands and not so great franchise brand, because they run on systems. They have a very strong system base when they run that business. So that needs a lot of attention. You need to create every document of every smallest process of your business into a documentation. On that, you need to create your legal structure. What kind of legal structure and how you want to protect your IP, and that's something which is very important, that you don't want to have any situation where you have lose the control or somebody just duplicates your entire thing. And if you're not very controlled, your franchisee can become your competition. So how do you really create non-compete? How do you really define the right obligations and tighten structure and put into the contract? So that's very important. And finally, you need to create then communication to attract. It's like what you create as a information memorandum when you're raising capital. Similarly, you need to create a investor deck for a franchisee also to invest with you. And franchisee can clearly see what kind of support you bring in, what kind of go-to-market capabilities you will help, what is your strength on continuous support on the entire thing, and especially training. Training is a very, very key aspect in franchising. If you train your franchisees well, most likely they would do well and they would perform better. So this all has to be ready. We call the 5-stage process: build the strategy, build your financial model, build your operating structures, training structures, legal and marketing communication. Then the cycle starts of what I call acquisition of franchise. How you acquire franchise. Obviously, you need to reach out to potential investors, and investors are also two types. One are strategic, who already have some kind of a value creation beyond just the capital. Sometimes you are, say, a B2B or a B2G, which is even more difficult. Now you have to sell this product to government or you have to sell to a large institution. You need more strategic, somebody who comes from similar or industry, which has relationships already there and can help you to go to the market. Like a lot of large distribution kind of businesses need to have, like, say, your pharma business, then you need to find somebody already in pharma because distribution is very complex there. So you need to really define, would you need a strategic or a financial, pure play financial investors, and what they bring in, and how do you qualify that franchise partner? Qualification also has to be done by call the 4 fits. These 4 fits are strategic fit, financial fit, operational fit, and marketing fit. All 4 are important, but there is a critical fit in that. Say, for example, I was a food franchise, right? Then operational fit is very important. While other 3 are important, but it's very, very important because operationally it's very demanding. You need to be operationally involved in the business. It's complex. It's a very, very demanding business. But if it was something which has a longer gestation and large capital deployment, like somebody said manufacturing or something like that, you need a financial fit. Because it'll take a project stage. You have to set up a project, and then project will start performing, and it takes its own cycle to come to optimum performance, to peak performance, and so on and so forth. So you need to have more financial fit. But if it is something which needs some kind of a strategic fitment, it might be some location, or it might be something which is very clearly strategic to the business. It might something which your already franchise is doing, which clearly fits this, then it is a strategic part. And if you have a concept, which is a new concept, then you need to have fourth one, which is a marketing fit, which means that somebody has the ability to take that concept to the market. And that's something which is very carefully to do that. So when you are ready with your model, then you need to really define who you need. You need a strategic partner or a financial partner, and then define these four fits. What is the most critical fit you would require? Once you have done that, you're very clear about that, then I would say reach out to the market. Don't rush to scale immediately. First do alpha beta, get your few franchisees, make them successful. If you have a couple of franchisees which are making money or looking good and happy with you, and you have built relationship with them, and you have something which is also very strong control systems and so on and so forth, then you can go out and scale. And scaling to this business is very easy, and that also builds a huge amount of value. Rather, I tell startups and say, use franchising as a great strategy to scale your business, to go to a certain market share, and at that stage start diluting. Sometimes startups start diluting too early, and they give up most of their company by equity for peanuts because they are raising too early. Which means that if you have a business model and you can sustain to a point and you can reach to a certain level and continue to build that business, and you should always be very, very controlled on your equity. I see these days entrepreneurs are very fast to give away equity. At a very early stage with a few lakh checks here and there, they would give equity to the business model, which is not good because while it is good financial investment products for angels, they put 3, 4, 5 lakh rupees and they sit in the company. But I feel that they don't bring in anything else. So one has to be very, very particular about being very conservative on your equity movement, and you should really look at moving that at a certain stage. Another area which is very important, somebody asked me that what is the final theory in terms of what should qualify you to be a franchise? Can you franchise? Then I have a Picasso theory. Picasso was a very famous artist, and he always did a perfect painting. So in franchising also, I built this Picasso theory. So P stands for proof of concept. So you need to have some kind of a proof of concept. That's very, very important. I stands for innovation. If you're not innovation-led, then you not survive, because consumer behavior is changing very, very fast. So innovation has to be inbuilt as a business model. 20 years back, we used to say technology, but now is innovation. If you're not innovation company, you will not survive. So that's very, very important. Third is capital. You need to continue to raise capital, continue to capitalize yourself. Then only you will be able to reinvest. And that's very, very important. Fourth is set accountability. What are you going to do? What franchisee is going to do? Very clear, very, very clear. Fifth is sustainability. Sustainability of the business model is very important for you as a startup and also for a franchisee. Then another S is scalability. The model has to be hugely scalable. That also is very important. How do you quickly go and scale? Somebody said international. Absolutely. Why look at only Indian market? Why can't you go take the business model to that thing? And finally, respect for ownership. There has to be a pride or ownership which franchisee brings to the business. So this is my theory of what I call Picasso theory. If you're able to work on these points, build a business model around it, then you will find a phenomenal amount of success. And if you look at the companies which are global best brands, all of them are franchised. Rather, if you see consumer brands anywhere which is there in the market, or any kind of businesses which there, almost everybody has used franchising. Even the largest of the corporations use the entire thing. Now, even Amazon is doing the micro franchise model. Flipkart is doing their micro franchise model. So all these companies are working on a franchise model. So I think we're doing good on time. This was pretty much what I wanted to cover. Let me pick up some questions, and any other questions which coming to entire thing. We have, I think, 7, 8, 10 minutes more to go.
Gaurav, can you also please suggest in terms of margin, as in when can we say that to encourage more and more prospective franchisee prospects to look forward for a particular startup? So what do you say is ideal range? It may not be exact number. It ranges from sector to sector. If you can please suggest if this is the kind of margins that we are looking at, gross margins that we are able to generate, I think that would be a really lucrative business model for the investors.
So margin is a wrong statement, because margin would classify into different kind of. I think there's some service businesses have more margin, product has lesser margin, and sometimes product also has a big difference. I mean, if you do luxury product, the margins can be 50-60%, and when you do gold, then you do 1% margin is also very big enough. So margin is a wrong assumption. But I understand your question. The question is, what is the expectation for a franchisee when he invests into the business, right? Franchisee typically works on different parameters. The first parameter they look at is the growth in that industry. That's very important. Second, they look at what it takes to do that business. This is one of the areas which one should always be very clear. Whenever investor is coming to invest either as a franchise or investing into the company, it's ease of investment and ease of exit. That's something which is very, very clear in everybody's mind. And if you are able to demonstrate that, how easy it is to get in and get out, everybody wants to invest into business, right? So that's very important. Third is what I saw, ROI. And ROI is based on life of opportunity. If the opportunity is long and you would continue to survive, like in older days when we used to say that if you invest into school, it will last for 100 years. The school which your grandfather went still exists. So which means the life of opportunity is very high. If the life of opportunity is high, even a lower ROI would make sense. But if the opportunity was limited and you feel that it has to maximize in 2-3 years, then expectation is very high. But typically, if you're able to put 2 to 3 year return on capital, it's a good ROI for a medium investor to come in the business model. And I feel that a lot of innovation startups should do is to get franchisees and also get them to invest a little bit on the parent and show them the path at both levels. At a franchisee, if you become a franchisee, you'll make money here. But if the business go up, you have upside of a value creation, which can happen. Maybe a small micro percentage, which they hold, which also brings their belongingness towards the brand. And they also want to participate in the whole startup story and build that. So a lot of that I'm advising these days early businesses, and they can really get maximum value out of that. I see Himalata has what investment into should this startup put into branding, awareness, founder profile before we franchise and attract right partners? What is the right franchise investment in that? So again, it's don't invest too much. Today, you don't have to, especially on your profiling and businesses, you don't have to. If you are smart enough to really put the problem you're trying to solve out, the ecosystem would pick it up. A lot of people are there, which we call opinion makers, and they always were thinking what you're doing, and they always wanted to be there where you are. So they want to invest with you because they never had that opportunity to create what you've created. So never shy away to go out and use that. LinkedIn is a great platform. To really go out and tell your story honestly, what you are doing and how you're doing that, and connect with people who are meaningful in that space, and the word would get across and you will get it. And so that's something which one should really do. Somebody's running a coffee shop in Warangal, and so want to expand the business through franchising. Absolutely. Franchising is the way to go. And if it is a good product and rightly packaged, and you have this business, you will get a lot of things there. Like there's a small company I did in Andhra, Telangana called Tea Time. It was just a small tea shop, and now there are 1,400 tea shops, and I've heard that they would go IPO as a business. And the founder is an actually IT guy, and he never had no experience in F&B. I think I got tired of doing IT and started a small tea shop. But clearly the opportunity was not that he has done that, but there are like 100 other tea shops which have franchised and done well, because it was conversion of the street food market, which was a $3 billion market. these telas outside, which were not hygienic, not have a right, and I think they were getting organized. And this was an opportunity which was delivered. So you get the same kind of pricing, but you get a consistent product and you get a better hygienic environment. So if you are even trying to solve, which is a simple problem, you can really build $1 billion business. So that's how unicorns are born here. None of them in India has been a unique innovation. They just saw something which is going to shift and quickly came there and used that as an opportunity, right? So when e-commerce was happening, because they knew Amazon would come, there was another player opportunity which was available, and Flipkart was smart enough to do it. Similarly, when Uber was happening, they were smart enough for somebody to be Ola. And all these companies, if you really look at it, are not really true innovation businesses. They were very smart by timing. So they were very smart by timing to really get that position of second or third or fourth position in that space, and then they were ready to be there. So, and that's something which I think we should all be, because we have advantage of consumption in India. So, so that's where the opportunity is. Kiran, you have a find franchisees for a hospital. I will love to connect with you, Kiran. I like this space myself, and I need to understand a little more what you do, and then we can do that. So I'm more than happy to just by helping you all to really validate your business model. If you want to set up a discussion with me, maybe 15-minute, 20-minute Zoom call where we can understand your business, and if it looks where I can contribute more, we can do a little more elaborate call later. But just to understand your business and understand where you are. Anything which is direct to consumer, I'm very, very keen personally. That space I feel that needs wider distribution and hyper local delivery points, and that's something which is a big focus for me. But any kind of health tech, agri tech, food tech, all are interesting spaces today. So Prithvi, any other question you want me to take? I think we've run out of last 3 minutes.
Yeah, so predominantly I think we've covered all of these questions. And also just want to understand in terms of sectors like consumer tech or logistics tech, or even ed tech, or even there are social impact tech startups that are also there that are part of our various engagement. So they can also explore Franchisee as a model, and even design tech also, food tech also.
Yeah. So all consumer tech, all the spaces which says, very keen on that. If you have some differentiator, because there's so much happening at almost all of these platforms. So we would be very happy. Agri-tech is again, prop tech is very big focus for me. I'm looking at something which is extremely different in the prop tech space. And if I'm not able to directly help, I will connect you. As a company, we are super connectors. We like to connect you with the right person and the right company or right mentor or right guide who can help you. I'll put my direct email ID. If you want, really reach out to me, or it's very simple. It's gm@gauravmarya.com. This is my email ID. You can send me a mail, and I let me understand and digest what you do, and then if you have, we'll be more than happy. Yes, Sudhir, we can talk. Kiran, we can talk on that. So, okay, good. So hope I was able to give you some insight. It's 1 hour, which I was told, and good to have all of you to be part of this session, and anywhere which we can assist you or help you, very happy to do that. So thank you very much. Thanks for your time today. Thank you, Prithvi, to invite me, and look forward for some meaningful conversations later.
Thanks a lot, Gaurav. Thanks a lot for your time, and thanks a lot all the participants. And so we'd request while you're mailing Gaurav or the other mail ID that I sent, I've also shared my mail ID. Please do keep us in loop so that we can help you ensure that communication is seamless. Please keep us in loop. And anything else? Uh,
No, no, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Have
Thanks a
a
lot, Gaurav.
great day and keep building great businesses and build enterprises and create value for you and for other stakeholders in your business. Thank you very much. Bye. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for your time.